Tonight, out of the heat and into the fire. An angry senator's outburst as their majesties visit the nation's capital. 12 seconds of terror, exclusive pictures of a brazen daylight heist in Melbourne's north. A win for home buyers, but does a new stamp duty concession go far enough? McDonald Trump, his bizarre move on the campaign trail. Melbourne Fashion Week kicks off with a nod to the 90s. And an AFL fixture shake-up. Mitch Cleary has the exclusive details.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. King Charles has received a welcome to remember in the nation's capital, being sneezed on by an alpaca and yelled at by an angry senator. Overall, the crowds were big and enthusiastic, with many getting their chance to meet the monarch.
The King in the capital. At the front of Parliament House, fronting the troops to take the salute as a 21-gun variety was fired in his honour. Day 4 of his whistle-stop tour, and in Canberra, controversy after reviewing the troops outside. King Charles and Queen Camilla, guests of honour at a formal parliamentary reception, welcomed with both an Indigenous arrival ceremony and national anthem rendition. The King's speech an offer of gratitude and thanks.
In my many visits to Australia, I have witnessed the courage and hope that have guided the nation's long and sometimes difficult journey towards reconciliation.
But the moment he finished, controversial Senator Lydia Thorpe began. The crossbench senator's outburst infuriating many. She shouted Charles was not her king. The King and Queen appeared calm as security led her out of the Great Hall, leaving their majesties to meet and greet a gathering of great Australians. Legend Olympian Jess Fox, adventurer Dick Smith, former Governor-General Peter Cosgrove, all honoured to meet their majesties. But it was nothing like the reception they'd get from the public crowds today. This was the scene as they arrived at the Australian War Memorial. For some, it was almost religious.
Oh, look, but we did come out!
Okay?
That was so exciting.
Inside the memorial, more sombre moments as their majesties laid wreaths, flowers and paused to remember the sacrifice of Australia's armed forces. They also walked along the Roll of Honour, and of the 103,000 fallen, choosing 2 to place a poppy beside. First World War soldiers William James Johnson and William Punch. Outside, the memorial roads were packed, around 4,000 people and 1 alpaca. This is Hefner, and there's theories he's a Republican. Hefner had just sneezed on the King.
So he doesn't have great royal manners.
No, for sure. But look, as they say, never work with children and animals.
At least he was dressed respectfully.
Hefner is wearing a bow tie. He's wearing a little jacket here, and he's also got a crown.
As for King Charles, he didn't seem to mind.
It sneezed on me. Just got the shot. I was in Nepal years ago, an elephant sneezed on me. That's not a good idea.
The rest of the crowd, far more polite.
Go live the king!
Through ever-present phones, the royal superfans chanted.
I got to shake his hand. It was a dream come true,
So you shook his hand? How does that feel? Incredible. Never washing it.
In total, King Charles carried out 10 separate engagements today, plus these public meet and greets. The British media say this is, today, by far, the most intense and demanding schedule since his cancer diagnosis in February.
Everywhere he went, the 75-year-old in constant high spirits.
Nice and sunny for you. Bit hot?
It's sunnier than Sydney.
Not like yesterday at their harbourside home, where the royal couple had enjoyed the Sydney sunshine at the end of the day, like any normal tourists, sunbaking, relaxing, taking in the majesty of an Australian spring day.
And we have reporters standing by covering the Royals. First to Chris Reason in Canberra. Chris, where are the King and Queen now?
Good evening to you, Peter. Well, now at Canberra Airport, getting ready to head back to Sydney after what has been a very busy day for the couple, which also included official meetings with the Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, the opposition leader, Peter Dutton, also climate change talks at the Botanic Gardens and planting of trees as well. And after being spat at by an alpaca and shouted at by Lydia Thorpe, they're probably looking forward to getting back to that pool at Admiralty House. Pete?
Chris Reason in Canberra, thank you. Now to political editor Mark Riley. And Mark, what do you make of the commotion up there in Canberra?
Well, Mitch, I think most Australians will see Lydia Thorpe's actions for what they were: rude, disrespectful, grandstanding. There was a sense she was going to pull on a stunt when she appeared in a possum skin coat. It was, for her, all about attracting attention to her black sovereign movement, relaxed in the knowledge that no action will be taken against her. But it was just one sour note on an otherwise bright day for the Parliament. A shining moment in Parliament's marble foyer, signing the visitors' book in the building his mother opened in 1988. In the Great Hall, a collection of great Australians from politics, sport, the arts and business.
Since your first visit in 1966, you have been taken into Australian hearts, just as you have taken us into yours.
The King responding with a gift, giving the government's cost of living policies royal approval.
Australia's economic growth has been remarkable.
Praising Australia's growth as a multicultural society, but noting the big continuing challenge.
I have witnessed the courage and hope that have guided the nation's long and sometimes difficult journey towards reconciliation.
How difficult? Soon obvious. Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe wearing a possum skin coat, insistent, insulting. She'd been moved on earlier from the War Memorial, continuing her protest outside Parliament.
We don't need a king from another country to dictate to us what we do here.
Despite the disturbance inside, the Republicans' hopes that this visit might add new momentum to their movement have largely failed. The overwhelming sentiment here is one of goodwill towards the monarch. Opposition leader Peter Dutton making a dry observation.
People have had haircuts, people have shined shoes, suits have been pressed, and that's just the Republicans.
As the Republic movement courts controversy, calling it a farewell tour.
It is bad taste, particularly given the King's ill health. It's more or less saying, we won't be seeing you again.
It's monarchy that we're farewelling. It's time to wave goodbye.
The only waves today, waves of adulation. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Security cameras have captured 12 seconds of terror as masked thieves ransacked a jewellery store in Melbourne's north. By the time stunned staff tried to fight back, the bandits had already fled.
The Craigieburn jewellery store had been open for less than an hour when masked thieves burst in and helped themselves.
Mostly it was the noise because it did sound like gunshots, and once the glass started to explode, it was really terrifying.
Armed with makeshift metal weapons.
All had to have a bit of a second look to see if it wasn't a gun because it did looked a bit different and a bit suspicious.
They shattered several cabinets in and out in 12 seconds.
People grabbing at things and that kind of thing, and then before you know it was all over and they were gone.
And managed to steal tens of thousands of dollars worth of jewellery.
Me with my really loud voice started screaming at them and scared them a little bit, but Brett was the one who saved the day.
The employee chased after them for more than 50 metres, armed with a ring resizer, but they had a getaway car at the ready and fled.
Brett acted and grabbed the heaviest thing we had.
They would have been in here a lot longer and done a lot more damage if we hadn't have acted the way we did.
Peyton's Place is a fourth-generation family business and has been operating for more than 5 decades. While staff are still understandably shaken, they're thankful no one was physically injured.
Look, I think we're okay. I think we're just processing it.
The owners have told 7 News they've been humbled by the overwhelming support from the community as they look to rebuild in time for Christmas.
The disappointment, a bit of anger, that this sort of thing can and does happen.
The offenders remain on the run, while owners hope to reopen the store in the morning. Tyra Stowers, 7 News.
To breaking news now, and fire crews have just brought a factory blaze in Campbellfield under control. It broke out around 5 o'clock, sending thick black smoke over the area. One person has been burnt in the fire and is being treated by paramedics at the scene. The father of a disabled man killed in a city attack is pleading for his son's alleged killer to hand himself in. Today, Andrew Truman's family came together to celebrate his life and one final selfless act.
It's been almost 2 weeks since Andrew Truman was fatally punched in a targeted but unprovoked attack.
So we need closure on this. We need to find out why. That's the big problem. We need to find out why.
Today, his loved ones united wearing his Western Bulldogs red, white and blue to pay tribute and remember the 44-year-old.
He was so vibrant. He loves to meet people.
Mr. Truman died in hospital after he was allegedly coward-punched while walking on Elizabeth Street on October 9. His final act, donating his organs, which saved 6 lives.
Someone's benefit out of his life, yeah.
Prime suspect Todd Menegaldo remains on the run. He's wanted by homicide detectives, but also Andrew's family.
I don't know what was in the other bloke's mind. No one does until he's caught and asked.
And remarkably,
for whatever reason, don't feel any hate, but yeah, definitely just numb.
Police say Todd Menegaldo has gone to extreme lengths to change his appearance. They're confident he's laying low somewhere in Melbourne CBD, and it's only a matter of time before he's caught. A final plea from a grieving dad.
Todd, just give yourself up.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
A man and a woman have been bashed during an early morning home invasion in the state's north. Intruders burst into the Shepparton home after 5 a.m. and assaulted the occupants. They were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police are still yet to determine if it was a targeted or random attack. The Allen government is slashing stamp duty fees for Victorians buying apartments and townhouses off the plan. The move will cost taxpayers $55 million, but some industry experts say it doesn't even scratch the surface of the housing crisis.
It sounds like an election pitch.
These younger Victorians are being locked out, they're being denied choice and opportunity, and that is not fair. And they need someone in their corner fighting for them, and that's what I and the government will be doing.
2 years out, the Allen government is going all in on housing, slashing stamp duty.
The aim here is to get more stock into the market.
Stamp duty discounts will only be available on apartments, units or townhouses bought off the plan. The tax will be calculated on the price of the land prior to construction rather than the value of the home. It means those who would have paid $28,000 in stamp duty could pay as little as $4,000, but there's worry that it's only available for the next year.
We're concerned that a year is too tight a time frame for more property to actually come to market during that period.
The Treasurer says there's a reason.
If not by the end of this year, then certainly by early next year we'll start to see interest rates come down.
In order to be in a position to buy a unit or a flat off the plan will take more than a year if it hasn't already started.
Property experts hope the concession will be enough to entice empty nesters out of large family homes, given one of the major barriers to downsizing is being stung with stamp duty later in life.
3-4 bedroom homes on larger allotments for families looking to right size. It also gives the opportunity for smaller to medium developers to come in and reuse that land really quickly.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Channel 9 has confirmed multiple independent investigations are underway into allegations of bullying and sexual harassment within 9 News and elsewhere in the organisation. It comes after a report last week found a raft of horrific cases of abuse, which only sparked more anger among 9 employees for not naming and punishing the perpetrators. Today, one former staffer claimed she was raped by a manager, but it was never reported to police. Qantas could be forced to pay up to $100 million in compensation to 1,700 baggage handlers illegally sacked during COVID lockdowns. After years of fighting the claims, the airline has now apologised, admitting it needs to do better.
Sacked Qantas staff say this is the spirit of Australia.
Woo! What a win! Here we are. Ordinary Australian workers, what a victory.
1,700 workers to share more than $100 million in compensation after the largest illegal sacking in Australian corporate history.
I love my job, I love working at Qantas, I expected to be there till I retired, and when this happened, it was an absolute shock.
After considering 3 test cases, the federal court found the former ground workers are entitled to $30,000, $40,000 or $100,000 each, 4 years after they were let go at the height of the pandemic.
We will now make sure that we hold Qantas to account to make sure that every cent of that money that these people are owed gets into their back pockets.
Qantas says it accepts today's ruling and will now work with the union to expedite the payouts. CEO Vanessa Hudson apologising to sacked staff, saying the onus is now on the airline to learn from this. The airline still faces penalties, the union pushing for a $100 million fine.
To deter not only it, but any other companies thinking about union busting on a grand scale. This should be worth more than $200 million when all is said and done.
Amelia Brace, 7 News.
Donald Trump caused quite the stir today when he turned up for work at a McDonald's, apron and all. The surprise shift included a big serving of insults for presidential rival Kamala Harris.
If you don't mind, I want to work the French fry counter.
In 2.5 weeks, he could be America's president-elect. For now, he's Lord of the Fries.
Never touches the human hand. Very good. Nice and full.
Donald Trump at a Pennsylvania McDonald's. Why? Rival Kamala Harris claims she cooked fries for the burger giant 40 years ago. Now, Trump is calling her out.
In other words, she's lying, Kamala.
No comment from McDonald's as crowds turned out to applaud Trump and Harris at a Baptist church in Georgia. Today, her 60th. This as Democrats suggest billionaire Elon Musk may be breaking the law as he tries to get Donald Trump elected. Musk is offering Pennsylvania voters who sign a pro-Trump petition on gun rights and free speech a chance to win the equivalent of $1.5 million.
Every day from now until the election.
Donald Trump should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States.
Though behind the drive-through window today, he was quite at home.
Look at that, look at that, how are you? Thank you, Mr. President. Nice to see you, hi darling, how are you?
In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
Theo Doropoulos is here with a look ahead to sport, and Theo, Test selectors had a keen eye on the MCG today.
There was a bit to look at as well, Mitch. It was an audition for the up-and-comers. Didn't quite go to plan for some, though, while Steve Smith also struggled in his first Shield hit-out of the season. We'll tell you why this trainer is hoping to emulate his brother's Cox Plate success. The AFLW gearing up for a very, very special round. And we're going back to the future for the AFL. Mitch, some exclusive details with Chief Footy reporter Mitch Cleary. That's coming up soon.
Thank you, Theo. A mystery death in the Yarra has turned sinister, with police making 2 breakthrough arrests. We're live to the scene next. Also ahead, why the world is going nuts for Australian almonds. We'll cross to the opening night of Melbourne Fashion Week as local designers dazzle. And later, world-first skincare treatment for tradies. Also, pop icon Cher turns back time with a new Hall of Fame honour. There's been a major twist in the investigation into the drowning of a young man in the Yarra River. Rochelle Brown is live from the scene, and Rochelle, the case has taken a sinister turn.
Mitch, a 16-year-old boy and an 18-year-old man have been arrested after a man's body was pulled from the river 3 weeks ago. That man has now been identified as Chadwa Leah. Police will allege the 22-year-old was involved in an altercation with a group of males after leaving a Flinders Street nightclub shortly after 1 a.m. on the 30th of September. He was allegedly punched, elbowed to the head and then chased by two members of the group, one brandishing a machete. He scrambled onto a jetty while trying to escape before falling into the water and drowning. A machete was seized from a Collingwood property where one of the teenagers was arrested. Both have since been released pending further inquiries. Mitch?
Rochelle Brown by the Yarra, thank you. A 4-car pile-up has closed outbound lanes of the Hume Freeway on Melbourne's northern outskirts. The impact was so strong a 4-wheel drive ended up with its wheels balanced on the bonnet of a P-Platers sedan. Afternoon traffic was delayed by almost an hour. The world is going nuts for Australian almonds. They're now the country's most valuable horticultural export off the back of a boom in sales to China and India. Currently, 80% of Australia's annual almond production is shipped overseas, bringing in close to $750 million in revenue. Melbourne Fashion Week is underway with some of Australia's top supermodels about to strut their stuff. Ainsley Kosh is at the Melbourne Museum this evening, and Ainsley, it's a special milestone for the event.
It certainly is, Mitch. This year marks 3 decades of celebrating the best Melbourne fashion there is. And tonight, First Nations talent will be on the runway for the first event of the week. But this week, there are more than 300 designers and retailers to be showcased. So there's certainly something for everyone to enjoy.
Making their mark on the runway, designers are showcasing the hottest trends in Australia's fashion capital. A nod to the 90s seems only fitting.
I think that we're actually seeing a bit of a 90s renaissance, which is perfect for our 30-year anniversary.
Big and bold is on brand, so too are soft pastels and florals.
There's lots of reds, lots of pinks and lots of pastels, but the jewel tones like wine and burgundy, I'm going to be biased and say it's definitely on trend, but also some of those greens and blues.
The event has launched many Australian designers over the years, including Denny Francisco's First Nations brand.
It actually is that pathway or that funnel, for more creativity to come to the fore and really reinforce Melbourne as a creative hub in Australia.
There are also many free events across the city, including pop-up runways and fashion capsules featuring the work of more than 70 local designers and artists.
We pop up at different locations to cater for different audiences, to make it accessible for everyone.
I feel like this really sets the tone for how we're going to dress for the rest of the event season. So I think bring your cameras and enjoy an amazing week of fashion.
Ainsley Kosh, 7 News.
Jane Bunn joins us now. And Jane, what a lovely way to start the week.
Mitch, a warm and sunny start, and temperatures climb even further from here. On a beautiful day with bright sunshine for most of it, we climb to 27.8. Tomorrow rises even higher, our first 30-degree day of the season. That'll be our warmest in 7 months. But it won't last. The next weather system is approaching and there's alpine snow by the end of the week. I'll have our roller coaster details after sport. Mitch.
Springtime in Melbourne. Yes. Thank you very much indeed, Jane. Victorian detectives need your help tracking down these thugs accused of terrorising 2 mums in an armed hold-up. Also ahead on 7 News, vigils across the UK to honour a former One Direction star. The miracle trial hoping to restore movement in quadriplegics. And some Aussie star power helps raise more than $80 million for our little fighters. A Shepparton shop attendant has described the terrifying moment 2 bandits robbed her store at gunpoint. Staff are now so frightened, security guards have been hired as protection while the armed criminals remain on the run.
2 female workers were about to close up for the night when armed thieves executed their plan. Jacinta Croker was in the back room of the Shepparton convenience store as a balaclava-clad man pointed a gun at her colleague's head.
Look over, she had her hands up, eyes closed. Then I seen the gunman come around the corner.
After filling a duffel bag with cigarettes, it seemed the bandits were about to leave until the gunmen turned back and demanded cash from the till.
It was like 2.5 minutes and it felt like 2 hours. They wanted a quick money grab and they just don't think they realise the impact that they've had on our lives.
The pair fled in a Ford Falcon with false registration plates. 3 weeks on, the robbery still haunts both women.
I didn't know if I was going to make it home to my kids, my husband.
The level of violence is not acceptable in the community at all, and certainly it's something that we don't want to see here.
Security has now been ramped up at the store. Guards have been hired to patrol at night to ensure staff are safe until the 2 men are caught.
They've ruined 2 mums' lives. Like, we've now got to be scared of going down the shop, looking over our shoulder, and I just want them locked up.
Geordie Wright, 7 News.
Israel has expanded its operation in Lebanon, sending warplanes to strike civilian targets. In a night of intense attacks, they wiped out banks and financial institutions linked to terrorist group Hezbollah. The attacks aren't contained to Lebanon. More than 80 people have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on northern Gaza. And fans of One Direction singer Liam Payne held vigils across the UK to pay tribute to the 31-year-old who fell from a hotel balcony in Argentina last week. The crowd sang their favourite One Direction songs and left behind flowers and messages of love. Australians are putting a price on friendship, with social circles slashed to save money. An increasing number of people are going to fewer events or skipping them altogether because of the rising cost of living.
From weekend brunches to weddings, for many, socialising is starting to feel like a luxury.
Everyone's a lot tighter and a lot more conscious of what they're spending.
Definitely a lot more conscious of the rising costs.
And it's putting social lives on ice. Aussies cutting costs by cutting company.
Almost half of Australians have done something within their friend group to mitigate costs at the moment.
Swapping fancy nights out for frugal nights in, and it's the younger generation leading the way.
Gen Z and millennials, it's about 1 in 10 have cut out friends.
Just 2% of baby boomers have axed a pal, instead choosing to keep friends close.
From park catch-ups to movie nights at home, there are still plenty of ways to stay social without breaking the bank. And for big events, experts say budgeting is key.
It's about getting into those financial habits and really having that financial goal in mind so that you can continue to enjoy those moments with your friends.
Track spending and automate savings to keep finances in check and friendships afloat. Georgia Holland, 7 News.
A record $83.2 million has been raised in this year's telethon. Celebrities including Guy Sebastian, Human Nature and Samantha Jade all came together to help bring in donations for the health and well-being of children across WA. 7 stars also joined in the epic 26-hour fundraising event. Since it started in 1968, the telethon's raised an astonishing $650 million. A worried son has made a heart-wrenching plea for help to find his missing dad. The latest on the search from Frankston is next on 7 News. Also ahead, a world-first skincare treatment to protect tradies. Pop icon Cher honoured with a Hall of Fame induction. And racing royalty turns out to farewell the spiritual king of Flemington. 2 Australian brothers are revolutionising skincare for men. Zach and Bo London have designed a world-first sunscreen that still allows the body to produce vitamin D to encourage young tradies to slip, slop, slap.
You go to a trade site and they'd look 80 and they'd actually turn out to be 40. And I'm like, I don't look like that when I'm older.
We'll think she'll be right, and then just something bad's happening, like, oh damn, wish I could have done something earlier.
Australian men are twice as likely as women to develop skin cancer. A heartbroken son is pleading for answers nearly 5 months after his father vanished from Melbourne's southeast. Police today ramped up their search to find the missing 54-year-old.
This is Ronan Clark at 6:45 p.m. on May 28. It's the last time he was seen.
The weeks after our dad went missing, we were out every single night looking for him.
143 days on, an army of orange joined police to ramp up the search near Frankston's Kinetic Stadium.
The last sighting of him was at the back of the footy oval.
The 55-year-old was released from Frankston Hospital at 3:45 p.m. on the Tuesday he disappeared. He had suffered a seizure the day before, has an acquired brain injury and relies on daily medication.
And his best friend was his carer, which is my eldest son, and he's lost at the moment. He's just not coping well. None of us are.
Cameras capture him walking in the CBD. By nightfall, his family had alerted police.
I'd made arrangements with the hospital to ring me when he was being put in the taxi.
We know for a fact he never got into a taxi.
Investigations so far have drawn a blank.
We're seeking for vacant properties that might have been vacant at the time and for our public to be diligent in searching their own properties.
This renewed search effort will last for 5 days, with police and SES canvassing 3 areas in Frankston.
Feels like something very big is missing in our family.
Sarah Jane Bell, 7 News.
Legendary entertainer Cher has been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Dua Lipa joined the 78-year-old on stage to sing one of her biggest hits. Cher has sold more than 100 million records worldwide. Back home, the racing world has delivered a perfect Flemington farewell for an icon of the track. Beside the famous roses and under spring sunshine, former clerk of the course John Pato Patterson received a fitting final salute.
A fine spring day for the perfect farewell to the clerk of the course, racing legend John Pato Patterson.
A man with a heart as big as himself, and gave it.
His job on Melbourne Cup Day was to lead in the winner. 44 times he was trusted.
You were our bodyguard, our protector, our minder, and our added insurance.
A master horseman in every aspect, who'd stop them in their tracks with just a sound to teach a lesson.
I heard the loud, whoa, and all of a sudden, all us apprentices thought we're going to be the next thing in racing. We go like Superman through the air, we land in the dirt and the mud.
It was his qualities as a person that drew hundreds today, offering counsel to famous footballers.
I never forget, I belted Don Scott, missed out in the grand final, and went round to Patos and crying in my beer. And he said, did he deserve it? I said, yeah. He said, well, grow up.
Small in stature, but a tower of strength for loved ones.
Rest in peace.
A walk down the avenue with his name on it, his final goodbye. Rory Campbell, 7 News.
Time now for sport with Theo Doropoulos and Theo. Steve Smith struggled at the MCG today.
A rare sight, isn't it, Mitch? It doesn't happen too often. He wasn't the only one. It was a tough day for almost all the Test hopefuls, as Australia's next big star also had a difficult day at the G. That was a stark difference to our frontline bowler, who's gearing up for a massive summer. We'll have exclusive details on the footy fixture, set to make a long-awaited return. Hear from the English trainer who's chasing down his brother in the Cox Plate. Welcome back. Some of football's most exciting players will come together for the Indigenous All-Stars this summer. Let's go live to Chief Football Reporter Mitch Cleary with the exclusive details. Mitch, exciting one this. It's back to the future for the AFL.
Well, Theo, for the first time in 10 years, the Indigenous All-Stars are locked in to play together in a pre-season match. Marks like this from Bobby Hill set to feature in the one-off game to be played against Fremantle in February. More than 40,000 fans expected to head to Optus Stadium. Players to also take part in a 3-day Indigenous camp around the match. And it could look something like this on paper. A backline with Stephen May and Liam Jones, potentially one of the most damaging forward lines ever. Think Pickett, Cameron and Flying Ryan. It remains a possibility also though, that Shea Bolton and Michael Walters could play against the Dockers in the role as the Indigenous All-Stars team. Meantime, a quirky one out of trade period. Sydney will continue to pay part of Luke Parker's wage for North Melbourne. Parker deferred payments over his last 3 years at the Swans, back-ending his deal into 2025. It means the Swans will chip in on the money he was owed over those 3 years while he plays at Arden Street. And Western Bulldogs defender Alex Keith has called time on his AFL career after 109 games, Theo. He'll be one of the last men to play Shield cricket and AFL footy.
Thanks, Mitch. He was pretty good at both too, wasn't he? Thank you. Now, the AFLW will hit the NT this weekend for Indigenous round, and the Dreamtime clash between Essendon and Richmond. The Tigers are wearing the same jumper as the men did earlier this year. It was designed by Maurice Rioli Jr.
To bring, I think, AFLW up to the top end where female football is continuing to grow is, like Maddie said, really exciting.
Meanwhile, Adelaide's Chelsea Randall has been cleared of structural damage despite this facial swelling and is expected to play against North Melbourne. Wow. Well, the Cox Plate will become a family affair for trainer Harry Eustace, who's looking to emulate brother David by winning the $5 million feature on Saturday. But he'll have to overcome the Japanese favourite prognosis.
Morning work at Werribee, prepping for the challenge of the tight Moonee Valley track.
He loves travelling at a strong tempo. He showed that at Ascot. Luckily, with Pride of Jenny in there, that's what we're going to get.
UK import Docklands more familiar with Royal Ascot and English conditions, but trainer Harry Eustace feels right at home here, having previously worked with racing dynasty the Freedmans for a year, learning the ropes.
How the races will be run, how the tracks run, how, what attributes you need. It's helped us sort of tailor his training.
Brother David won the Cox Plate with Sir Dragonet in 2020.
And joins a century of legends, Sir Dragonet for Bossy.
He's making me look pretty ordinary at the moment, but certainly if we could go down with sort of one Cox Plate each, that would level the playing field.
Harry now primed for his shot at glory, but this horse is standing in his way. Another top-class international and the favourite Prognosis, the Japanese mare with Damien Lane on board.
If we could go and win the big one, it would be enormous for us.
Laura Spurway, 7 News.
Well, let's go to cricket. And Aussie star Steve Smith has struggled in his first outing of the summer against a red ball. Test coach Andrew McDonald was at the MCG where a number of players tried to press their case for the series opener against India.
Off last week's Twin Tons, with a vacancy in the Aussie top order, Sam Constas charged into the spotlight, just survived his first ball but was trapped by Scott Boland for 2.
Oh, that one's very close, and it is out!
Not the first or last to succumb to the mayor of the MCG, Steve Smith scratched around for a 29-ball 3.
Is there a tickle? There is!
It actually felt pretty good out there, to be honest, for the 3 that I scored. Strangely enough, but I felt like I was moving well, I was leaving well.
The Blues fell for 136, half Victoria's first innings total. Up in Brisbane, Usman Khawaja made an 11-ball duck against South Australia. Marnus Labuschagne, 22 off 57 balls. Smith also confirmed he's dropping from opener to number 4 at Marnus and Khawaja's insistence.
They didn't like it at all. They wanted some security, I suppose, behind them, where I've done really well for a number of years, and I can understand that, I suppose, as well.
The stark reality.
Oh, that one's knocked him over!
Australia's bowlers have plenty on their broad shoulders for another summer. The great left armour is up and going. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Lando Norris's hopes of a maiden Formula One world title continue to fade. Starting from pole at the US Grand Prix, the McLaren driver lost the lead at the first corner and had to settle for 4th. Charles Leclerc went on to win. Max Verstappen finished 3rd, extending his lead in the World Championship to 57 points. Oscar Piastri was 5th. Gorgeous indeed. John Stones struck in the 95th minute to snatch a 2-1 win for the 4th-time reigning champions. City is now a point behind Liverpool on the table after they beat Chelsea 2-1. That's good going, Mitch. Well done from Mitch Cleary to another breaking yarn. The Indigenous All-Stars round the game will be one to watch.
He's on fire at the moment,
Mitch,
isn't he?
He's too good, isn't he, Big Mitch?
He is indeed. Thank you, Theo. Cells taken from a patient's nose could be used to treat spinal injuries in a revolutionary technique developed in Australia. Human trials are about to begin, offering hope to millions worldwide.
In 2023, Joseph Ponu was touted as footy's one to watch, being scouted by the Titans and on track for his athletic star to rise. One moment in time changed this talented footballer's life forever.
I was playing a trial match against the Brisbane Broncos and I collided with a goalpost trying to make a tackle. I became a C3 quadriplegic.
A life-changing injury on the field for Joseph, but thanks to a team of researchers right here in Australia, the trajectory of his life looks set to pivot again.
We are announcing the launch of a cell transplantation trial to treat spinal cord injury.
Joseph's part of this world first, a trial that uses cells from a person's nasal cavity, selected for their multifunctional ability.
It's the only part of the nervous system where you've got these professional cells that clean up an injury site and promote regeneration.
What you're looking at, these little worm-like structures, these are the nerve bridges, effectively grown from the cells at the back of someone's nose. They're unique to the person and they take 24 hours to grow.
It's revolutionary and one the scientists know is vital to get right.
It's been a combination of discovery and translation. That changed the way we did research.
The trial will accept 30 participants and kicks off in 2025. This innovation gives hope to those like Joseph living with spinal cord damage in an area where treatment has seemed impossible. They can now look forward to a new year full of hope. Nats Levy, 7 News.
Jane's back now with the forecast. And Jane, how warm is it tomorrow?
Well, Mitchell, we soar to 30 degrees, but it doesn't last. We have a late cool change. And on tonight's bright side, the tiny kittens in need of a loving home. Hello again. We've had a lovely start to the week. If you're in the outer northeast, there was fog at first, but that quickly cleared to sunshine across Melbourne. Our winds turned light easterly, letting the temperature in the city keep climbing. We reached a top of 27.8, it's still 26 out there now. That wind direction keeps the lid on temperatures further south, Point Cook and Phillip Island, both 23. The sunshine extends across Victoria after early fog. Sheets of high cloud are starting to push through, and that is the first sign of a change on the way. The northwest climbed to 30, while Gippsland, that is the coolest in an easterly wind. High pressure is passing through, bringing us the pleasant weather and letting it warm up once the high is out to our east. The next weather system is a trough set to pass through here later tomorrow and on Wednesday. After that, we'll have a cold front come up from the south. Tomorrow is a warm one before that trough arrives. The pink indicates 30 degrees. That shading extends right down into the south. The red in the northwest, that is the mid-30s. By Wednesday, we have cooler greens across the south and milder yellows in the north. And by Thursday, it is cold enough for snow on the Alps. But we do expect this in spring. It is the fight between hot and cold. The trough is slow moving. A dry, cool change on Tuesday. By Wednesday, it has picked up a little moisture here for patchy rain. Storms likely in the northeast. Thursday's cold front has no connection to the tropics, so it is showery only in the south, while the cold wind extends right through. Around the nation tomorrow, dry for most capitals. Hobart is warm before a cool change with showers. Adelaide reached 33 today. An early cool change means the low 20s tomorrow. To Victoria, patchy sunshine through areas of high cloud. No wet weather statewide. It is warm to hot. We are reaching the mid-30s in the northwest, even 27 in Bairnsdale, 29 in Traralgon. The southwest is different as a dry, cool change slowly pushes through. Closer in, we are warm for much of the day in breezy north to northwesterly winds, a mix of high cloud and sunshine. The cool change arrives late afternoon. That'll start in Geelong between 3 and 4, finishing Coldstream between 6 and 7. It is a dry, cool change, but you'll feel a quick drop in temperature. The city hits 30, warm nearly all day. Between 4 and 5 p.m, it plummets to about 17. We do have grey skies on Wednesday morning, the odd bit of drizzle, sunshine by the afternoon. We're about 21, then 17 and 16 to end the week, but there aren't many showers with this one. A top of 30 tomorrow, lots of sunshine. That is ahead of a cool change between 4 and 5 p.m. Now to tonight's bright side. Some of these furry friends are just a few days old. The Cat Protection Society is calling out for foster carers to take them in. Right now, they're so tiny, they're being groomed with a toothbrush. The team is after passionate animal lovers with lots of time on their hands to help them grow up fit and healthy. And Mitch, if you want to get involved, reach out to the Cat Protection Society based in Greensborough in Melbourne's north.
No dogs tonight?
No dogs, just cats tonight.
OK, thank you, Jane. And that's the way it is this Monday, the 21st of October. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
The 7 News app will give you the news you want every minute of every day, including breaking news alerts. Download the 7 News app now.